have no idea where this will lead us, but I have a definite feeling it will be a place both wonderful and strange.
Hello, and welcome to the wonderful and strange Twin Peaks Logcast. I'm Kalil, and with me today is the Dwayne to my Dougie.
Yeah! I'll kill you, you old coot!
If you could even stand up straight, maybe you could.
Grabs knife from table, stabs in. All done. We got a new mystery in Twin Peaks, guys. Who killed this old man in front of everyone else? Very easy mystery to solve, guys.
Everyone in the room saw it happen.
About 100 people.
Today we're talking about episode 17, Dispute Between Brothers.
Okay.
This was the main plot of the episode. In case you were like concerned when you watched this, no, this is where the name is. This is where the name came from. This is the main issue. Unless you think like Jerry Horn and there was some kind of Ben and Jerry conflict that we didn't see happen.
Yep.
I don't think there's any other like brothers to fight.
There aren't any obvious brothers to fight, I suppose. But by the gods, that is beautiful. I think I'm growing fond of these titles as we keep going.
Good. It's good Stockholm Syndrome. This episode is written by Trisha Brock and directed by Tina Rathborn.
Okay. Have we had either of these individuals as like the head writer or directors?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention Tina Rathborn. I assume this was on purpose. She was the same director as episode 3, which was Laura's funeral.
Oh.
So I guess her specialty is dead Palmers.
All right. We need the funeral expert inside here.
Could you say she's a Palmer embalmer? No, she's just a director.
Aw.
So that clashing of morbidity and humor, I think, leads us naturally into the first thing I want to talk about, which is the tone and atmosphere of this episode. Mm-hmm. The last few episodes we've been watching have been very intense in different ways.
You don't say.
And this was kind of the first episode we've had in a little while since the Leland reveal.
Yeah.
Where it's a kind of a new normal, granted, but we are returning to a similar type of mood and pacing that I think we're more used to with Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And part of that is the reintroduction of humor into this episode. Would you not say that it was all smiles and laughs?
Like I mentioned with the last episode, it's felt very spiteful, if you will. It felt very much and this might have been me reading a little bit too much. That might just be personally me. But I still didn't feel the usual fun and strange elements that I've grown to really love from Twin Peaks. And we do make a return to it in this episode, I personally feel.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but I don't think it was totally in your head to get that sort of spiteful feeling from it. You and I were both tapping into the same vibe last time. But even in this episode, when the Log Lady intro happened again, I was listening to it like, Lynch, what did you think of this episode? Because again, he had her do the intros after everything had already aired. And, the Log Lady's talking about how something could be simple and perfect, but then something new gets added in and it complicates everything. And why can't we have that purity? Are we putting the cart in front of the horse? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, David, what do you really feel about this episode? Because it sounds to me like you don't like what we're going to be adding to it.
The way that you're addressing it sounds like David Lynch is personally here with us as a guest.
Angelo Badalamenti. It's David Lynch. I see him to my direct left.
I love that there is this great companionship, the Mario to your Luigi of David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. What did you think? When you heard the Log Lady intro, did you kind of get that same sort of vibe that, like, this is, again, Lynch being a little bit cynical?
I suppose it's... No, I didn't. This one was more so something I think pairs very well with the sense of a funeral. Kind of wishing for the sense of simplicity when things come in to complicate one's life. And then we open directly with Sarah Palmer.
Sure.
Like trying to make it seems like a question one would give for grieving, and having the funeral as a primary source of this episode, I think was very fitting. So, no, I didn't feel as much with it, but I do see where you're coming from that.
Yeah, and it was an interesting mix of emotions that we opened up with, because it wasn't the actual funeral itself, but more like the funeral dinner that they were having. So we get this 3 days later pop up on the screen. With the opening of Laura's photo and then now Leland's photo next to it.
Now tell me, have we had a point in which like we had like an amount of time shown on screen? So. Because elsewise it seemed like a lot of the days were matching up similar to the episode numbers.
3 days in Twin Peaks time is like 3 episodes, right? Like at least.
Usually. But no, this is a large span of time. I mean,
3 days.
I'm surprised Twin Peaks isn't entirely different at this point.
Yeah, right? The way things keep happening.
I mean, the whole entire scenery seems a little bit different.
Sure. And one thing that hasn't changed, though, is that Dr. Hayward is offering Sarah her drugs, which Sarah, says she doesn't need it. We still don't know exactly what it all is, but...
I wouldn't say need. Want. She does not want it.
She says she needs to be fully there.
She needs to be fully there.
So that's the more important need right now, is to be present for this moment.
Yes.
And she talks about how Laura's grave is still only new, still only a little bit of grass on it. And Cooper's there kind of, I don't know if consoling is really the word, but contextualizing her suffering.
Yeah.
Where he says, Mrs. Palmer, there are things dark and heinous in this world, things too horrible to tell our children. And then he goes on to basically argue the case from last episode that Leland did not do these things, that it was something possessing Leland that Leland fell victim to, and that was the cause.
I really enjoy the fact that while he is trying to aid and confide with Sarah Palmer, there's this, like, she's looking off, and it's very distracting. I had my moment in which I'm wondering, okay, is the volume lower on Cooper's voice?
Yeah, incredible zooming in, just super slow zoom in on her face.
You actually sort of feel that sort of sense, like she is very well distracted with likely the morning process while Cooper is trying to aid her.
Even her sighing is sometimes louder than his talking.
Yes.
Because you're that close to her face. And then the music drowns it out too. Cooper says that Bob is gone forever, and then Sarah says, but so is everything I loved.
Yeah, this was a fantastic shot.
One, we don't know Bob is gone forever. That's not confirmed, Cooper. Nope. Very reassuring, but also possibly a lie.
Well, to be fair, it might be a sense of comfort for her directly.
Yeah.
But we know that Bob has struck at a different time. Maybe through Leland, maybe through somewhere else, but it seemed in a different location than Twin Peaks.
Literally, he would have heard Bob proclaiming he's going to kill again. Like, he knows that Bob could be out there. He even says as much to Major Briggs later.
Yes.
So he, at the very least, is in doubt that Bob's gone forever. So for him to tell Sarah that, it's reassuring, but also maybe not what he really thinks.
Yeah, I think that as far as Twin Peaks goes, especially since this is the episode where he's getting ready to leave, he doesn't believe it will happen in Twin Peaks again. So reassuring someone that Bob won't be around might just be personally helpful to Sarah, he finds.
But Sarah responded that everything she loved is also gone. Kind of, it's a hollow victory. Like, sure, Bob's gone, hip, hip, hooray, but what's that gonna do for me? Like, they're already gone.
She is suffering through a bit of melancholy, so.
I mean, that's her family, that's all she had left. And even, like, the family that we're aware of with Maddie's side of the family, they have to be just as distraught.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird. We really don't know how that side of the family's reacting. We don't really know where Maddie's being buried.
I can't wait.
I assume it's in Missoula and not in Twin Peaks, but I don't know that.
I look forward to the Twin Peaks spinoff, similar to Happy Days having many spinoffs, Missoula, where we explore Missoula, Montana.
That sounds exciting. And just like a whole variety of emotions start washing over after we have that zooming in moment with Sarah. We have a kind of a cut to the ceiling fan and stairs that we've associated with that sort of menacing, ominous music.
Yeah.
And then that music continues as it transitions over the table that's being set with all this food. And the credits start coming in with all the extras who are acting in the episode. And as it's going across the table, the menacing music kind of associated with Bob and the stairs and the ceiling fan and the Palmer house gets morphed into this sort of peaceful requiem, like very not really church music, but very calm.
Yeah.
Very calm music. Which is interrupted when Nadine turns a corner, and then it's right back to that jazzy, snappy Twin Peaks music we associate with.
Yeah, the way that I can describe is like that eeriness from the stairwell with the transition. It's almost like music that it's in like that same tone, like do 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 do, but instead of like that sad, it's almost triumphant, like something in which there is celebrating through somberness. But yeah, then suddenly maracas when Nadine comes around. And as soon as Hank starts talking, hard stop. Like, it doesn't even fade. It's just hard stop.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that very, again, just beautiful music. This was just a fun scene to look for. And it was not just Nadine that gets maracas. Nadine gets maracas, but there's also the scene with Briggs, Jacoby, Cooper, and Truman that we go back to.
It's kind of weird because the dinner is simultaneously a very sad moment for the death of Leland, who... It's weird to try to think. We don't really know how much Leland's death would impact the community. When Laura died, it felt like everyone knew Laura, and she was like literally holding this place together.
Yeah.
With Leland, it's not quite clear if he has that sort of outreach. But based on the reactions of everyone around, there is a sadness there, but it feels like they're really there for Sarah mostly, and that kind of like coming together as a community just to try to move forward. There's a sort of optimism in this moment. Rather than like the overwhelming grief we saw at Laura's funeral.
Yes.
And notably absent from this particular encounter funeral is James and Bobby, both of whom who had a disruption of the last funeral with their amen screaming and fighting and everything going on there.
Yeah.
Nadine, though, she's looking at her shoes to try to see if anyone could see the reflection of her underwear from her shoes. And thank God, when she sees her reflection, it's not Bob's face, because that'd be very jarring. I'm just trying to imagine the situation of where we just got done with that last episode, and all of a sudden Bob is seen in Nadine's shoes.
Yeah.
And the ominousness of Nabob Dean. That'd be very scary. The powers of Bob and Nadine combined.
Oh, he'd be unstoppable.
It'd be furious. And we get a scene also where, Sarah's sitting on the couch. Next to her on her left is Audrey, and on her right is Eileen Hayward, who, congratulations if you remember who that was, because we haven't seen Eileen Hayward since like episode 2, maybe. It was a weird combination. I don't really know how close Audrey would be to Laura's mom.
Yeah.
She identified as not being very close to Laura, and I would imagine you're not going to be closer to her mom than Laura herself. So it is interesting that that's her company. I would imagine Eileen and Sarah go back quite a bit because their daughters have been best friends for years.
Yeah.
But Audrey sitting there seems like a weird choice. I don't know why it wasn't Audrey's mom, who we still have not seen. Hopefully she's alive because we have not seen Sylvia Horn in a hot minute.
Audrey is the stand-in for Sylvia. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that counts. Then we cut back to Nadine is still worried about people seeing the reflection in her shoes. And Ed gives the Ed guarantee that no one can see anything. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And there's this look we get from Donna to Ed of just kind of mild confusion. And then Ed just kind of looks. I don't know if it's at her. I don't know if it's at the camera. He just kind of looks.
Like, there's just like... There's this look that makes you feel really sorry for Ed. He's going through a lot. Not only is James apparently now missing, but there's also a lot to deal with Nadine, which we'll be getting into soon.
Yeah.
He's got a lot on his plate.
Not to mention Norma, who he's very close to, is going through her own turmoil as well.
Yeah. No one's really happy in Twin Peaks right now.
Jacoby seems doing okay. He just got back. Jacoby's all smiles from Hanalei Bay.
Oh, yeah. And he's got a sweet little new tie, that features a nice little island area with a lone woman at the center of the tie. And it looks very nice. He's got his classic sunglasses. It really looks good with his hair.
And honestly, he looks even better next to Major Briggs because the two of them are like aggressively complimenting each other's outfits.
Yes.
With like the sort of navy blue and even like the colors in like the patch on Briggs's like suit. It like matches up kind of with the colors on Jacoby's, but Jacoby's is like outlandish and big and popping, and Briggs is more sedated and calm and military, and it's just this perfect balancing act.
Honestly, yeah, the colors really do work out with one another. If I could get a painting of them standing next to each other, there wasn't even like a quotable moment for me in that. It just looks very nice.
I wouldn't even stop at a painting. I want wax sculptures of Major Briggs and Dr. Jacoby, and I want them wearing that exact outfit, and I'm going to prop them up in my living room.
I'm glad you have space. I live in an apartment, and you can hardly fit in your chair, so...
You know what? You don't need to comment on that. Cooper, says he's going to be leaving very soon, but before he does, he gets offered by Briggs to join him for night fishing, to which Cooper replies, aces.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the plan.
And that's the end of the maracas.
That's the end of the maracas, but not the end of the fracas.
Oh, yeah. It seems that the critics from the Muppets have come into Twin Peaks.
The quote-unquote dispute between brothers that this episode is named after.
Yep.
We get Dougie and Dwayne Milford.
Okay. I didn't catch Dwayne because I heard the mayor, as Dougie is the one who has the newspaper.
Yeah, so Dwayne is the mayor,
Dougie.
and we technically met Dwayne in the pilot.
Oh, okay.
He was there.
He was there. And you were there? And you were there.
Because he was the one who like, can we get the lights? Like, he was there, but just not very much.
Yes.
They just kind of like, they built him up. They planted the seed in the pilot, and then they just let that seed grow for like 16 episodes. And then a full-grown plant of an old man appeared.
Yep, they definitely let it grow and watered it. I remember every scene where Dwayne was just hiding behind the corner, just peeking in, and you could hear the absent.
It's like the Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch is in every scene. You just got to look harder. It's there.
And apparently, good old Dougie is getting married to someone in their teens, and
it's his fifth marriage.
Fifth marriage. I don't know if it's hyperbole or not, but apparently, by Pete's claim, he's about 110 years old.
I mean, stranger things have happened in Twin Peaks.
Strange things have happened in Twin Peaks, but
hopefully it's a turn of expression from Pete.
I don't know many situations in which there has been much positive light in an older person with a younger person relationship.
Yeah.
In this.
And we get a little bit of history, too. We don't know exactly how long they've been fighting, and not even anyone's really sure exactly what they started fighting about. They think it might have been about some girl they were in love with when they were younger.
Yeah.
But nobody really knows. They probably don't even know why they fight anymore.
Yep.
But these brothers have been estranged at each other's throats for decades, apparently.
Yep.
And to the point that when Dwayne first ran for mayor in 1962, Dougie had wrote in the newspaper, because he owns the newspaper, wrote an editorial against his brother, even though his brother was, unopposed.
Yes.
So just don't vote for my brother. I don't know who you're going to write in. I don't know what you're going to do, but
just go up there yourself. I'm sure you can run it better than my brother.
And considering the fact that was 1962, assuming that Dwayne has been the mayor ever since, that's about 30 years of being the mayor in which Dougie's probably ran a crusade against him.
Probably. I hope that he hasn't been unopposed all these 30 years. Like maybe a lot of people do agree with his policies and maybe he is a really good mayor. I don't know. It just seems very strange, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful and strange, or just strange?
Just strange so far. I'll find out if it's wonderful later.
Okay. So what did you think of the two old men as new character? Okay, one of them's a new character and one of them's quasi-new.
I already told you a little bit, like, their relationship. I imagine that they were going to be a little laughy, jokey, and mocky inside of there. I didn't realize that it would escalate into an all-out brawl near the dining table. And I've got to say, that was an excellent first impression.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
We did need a new mystery since Laura Palmer's mystery has been solved, so I'm glad to get into the Dougie Dwayne controversy.
Good.
So
all the mysteries of Dougie shall be explored in due time.
Oh, definitely. I look forward to it.
In the meantime, we're left with the mysteries of Nadine. And the question looming over, more important, than, who killed Laura Palmer, is, will Nadine make it into the cheerleading squad of her senior class?
That is fantastic, but allow me to make a transition within your transition, because the transitions in this episode were fantastic. Like, there was this parting in the trees up a dark road. There is like a deep cloudy skies.
Yeah.
There are pipes that are within the darkness that are just oozing out water. Just very ominous. And in between the episode,
that's the water.
And in between these dark elements, we get our darkest instance with Nadine going to high school now as a woman inside of her 30s, did they say?
35.
35. And
hey, it's never too late to follow your dreams. You can do it.
The thing is that she had this dream before. She passed the dream. She did good on the dream. Or we're just revisiting the dream now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Jacoby seems to be in support of it. We do get to see the assistant principal, but I have no clue what his name is. Kalil, do you have
not
the
a
name?
clue, and I'm not even gonna bother. We even met the principal in the pilot episode. They just couldn't get that guy or something.
You have to go through the assistant principal to get a 35-year-old woman in school.
Also, he runs the cheerleading tryouts too. Like, he's involved in that.
As you do.
And when we joke about our sarcasm with things being dark, but I think what's so interesting about Nadine, and has been from pretty early on, is that all the comedy with Nadine has a heavy element of like sadness in it.
Absolutely.
Because this is a woman who's convinced that she is a high school senior, and it seems like the current plan is just let her think that, like live the lie. And I don't think anyone can claim the objectively right thing to do in this situation, but this isn't healthy. I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's not healthy.
I don't know if it's healthy. I'll keep it to the professional Dr. Jacoby.
But at least it seems to be making her happy.
Yeah.
This is kind of the crazy part of the whole thing is that, you know, for most of season 1 and going into the end of season 1 when Nadine attempted to take her own life, she was going through extreme frustration, extreme disappointment, and this powerlessness of feeling like she was letting down Ed, letting down herself. She wanted to make this drape run her business. And after coming out of the coma, everything involving this idea that she's still in high school kind of reset her life.
Yeah.
And this is the happiest we've ever seen her.
Yeah.
In fact, she's one of the happiest people in the entire town. You mentioned that no one's happy in Twin Peaks. It really might just be Nadine.
It might be. There's still conflict on her face, like looking in her reflection. But yeah, she seems at least outwardly very happy. And there are moments even in that happiness we see a lot of tension, though. Like, for example, as healthy or unhealthy as it might be, giving into some of her wishes and just trying to keep up with the facade, giving her a milkshake has definitely shown mixed results. She ends up blowing up the milkshake.
Mixed milkshakes.
And cuts her hands horribly. Yet somehow they regenerate enough when we see her now, and can easily do plenty of jumps on her hands, despite the fact a few days earlier, cut hand milkshake.
And just the fantastic like visual effects of this whole scene with the cheerleading
Man,
tryouts.
I was really happy we could view like Twin Peaks on Sega CD.
Because like when she grabs the guy, it reverse loops it so it looks like she's moving him.
Yep, so that they can add some dialogue in there long enough. Yeah. It's like, hey, what are you doing?
They realized that wasn't enough, so they just had to slow it down. And then they launch the guy. It's so cheesy and so over the top, and it would never have been taken seriously at any point in history. And that's the point.
Someone in the school is gonna die. Someone in this school is gonna die by Nadine's hands.
At least it makes her happy. At least she found some meaning, you know?
Oh no.
You know, it's like what My Chemical Romance said about teenagers.
What did My Chemical Romance say about teenagers?
I don't know, but I really do enjoy. The when she finishes her landing from her jumps. She does like a pose. What do you call that? Like a cheer pose. Like she throws her arms up.
Happy Nadine pose.
Happy Nadine. And the audience has this like generic applause sound effect, and then this like sparkle noise.
Woo!
Do you have something kind of like that in our soundboard? Yeah, that's basically what it sounded like.
Very close.
Very close.
It's about half the amount of time, but honestly, same amount of majesticness, as Nadine is definitely going to be involved with Cheer Squad, whether or not she is put on the tryouts. It seems the assistant principal is very judgy, like doesn't comment on one of the tryouts overall chant or posture. Instead, is like, too small, next. And as we see Nadine leap into the high school life, we must say au revoir in the words of John probably at some point to Cooper as he's getting ready to depart Twin Peaks.
Or depart from his life.
Bum, bum, bum.
Audrey comes in to see Coop. He says that he's leaving. So this is it. You saved my life and you break my heart sometimes. Someone must have hurt you once really badly. No, someone was hurt by me, and I will never let that happen again. She died. Want to know how? She was a material witness. He just keeps explaining everything.
And that is the end of today's programming. Tune in next week for more adventures read by Kalil over Twin Peaks. Have a good night.
You know what? This is a good time as any to return to the conversation of the very popular, in the fan community of Twin Peaks, question of should Audrey and Cooper be together? I
mean, in the end, it seems that Audrey is very determined. I love the line in which, like, after Cooper says, like, nope, in the end, like, you were involved in this case, I can't involve myself with you. But Audrey does quote saying that with the friendship that they have, that it does make for lasting relationships. And when she is all grown up, Cooper better watch out. It is definitely something in which I can see an audience cheer for, and genuinely, I think that they have a lot of a fun chemistry together. It's just that at this point, Wyndham Earle is freaking out there, and we don't know what else Cooper might be hiding or what baggage he has.
Yeah, we know that he had previously fallen for a woman that he was supposed to protect, him and his partner, Wyndham Earle, and Wyndham Earle, who taught him everything he now knows about being an agent. And Cooper says that he wasn't ready when an attempt was made on her life, and he wasn't ready because he loved her. She died in his arms, he was badly injured, and as we kind of knew before, Wyndham Earle lost his mind. And he just kind of says this all to Audrey, and I assume this is not something he's legally allowed to just tell her. I would imagine this is a little bit what is called in the legal community classified. But I actually really like how this is handled because it is an exposition dump.
Yeah.
It is someone literally telling someone else all this backstory.
While putting boxers and his cup inside of his suitcase.
But I do think it's actually really well handled because it makes sense to me that he wants to really, really convey to Audrey why on his side it can't happen. And possibly even to remind himself why it can't happen.
Yeah, but at the same time, with Audrey still having that sense of want and still finding charm, finding him to be perfect, being his one flaw.
Yeah.
There's just this great chemistry, and I think it works. If you have a way to put forward exposition in a way that either feels fun or gets a chance to really highlight your characters, I think you've done a good job. And this is an example of a good job.
Yeah. It's not always bad to just tell us information and, there's the whole show don't tell argument. I don't think we needed a flashback scene. I don't think we needed anything more immersive. I think Cooper telling it in the way he did in the situation is really good. But I do have to fight you on one thing a little bit, Professor, is that I think...
I'll get you, old coot!
Is that if we're going to talk about chemistry with Cooper, we have to talk about the more important relationship of him and Harry S. Truman. Because obviously, Cooper, he's in love with one of these two.
Yeah.
And I think we know it's actually Truman. I think at this point, Professor, we can just, tell all the Audrey fans that they can go home. They can go home and they can sulk in their misery.
Yes, it seems that not only is Truman at this point fickle on what he even believes in, but when Cooper does come towards him saying that he's going to be departing, he gives forward a nice little tackle that he made himself.
A green butt skunk.
A green butt skunk. That
as a visual metaphor of their enduring bond.
Because apparently the fish that are going to be caught, do you remember the fish?
No, but all I know is that they keep wanting to have sex.
Yep, and this is the only thing that'll distract them.
And I mean, can we just talk about the subtext here? I mean, obviously there's some heat going on between Cooper and Truman. It's a little bit of that sexual tension. Gonna go catch a fish? We know what you really mean, Truman.
Hey man, I can honestly see it, so.
I don't even know how much I'm joking anymore. It's really easy to ship these two.
It is?
It's really easy to make it work. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how his dad taught him how to tie the green butt skunk, and that his dad had told his dad, and it's kind of like a generational thing. So in giving that to Cooper and then giving him the Bookhouse Boys patch, it's like passing on these traditions.
You're a Bookhouse Boys. We have all agreed. You're in. There is a good bond between these two, and no matter in what context we see them in the future, is a context to look forward to. And
I mean, Cooper, he is very much in awe of the whole display. He says he is honored beyond his ability to express himself. And he has a very confident swagger kind of renewed when he leaves that office and blows his whistle to speak to everyone else that's been lined up at the door for him.
Yeah. Which, by the way, did you want to say what he thought of everyone?
Sure. So with Hawk, he said that he hopes that if he's ever lost, he hopes that Hawk will be the one to find him.
Let's face it, he will be able to because Hawk's freaking everywhere. He's running around doing every job.
Deputy Andy's bravery is only exceeded by the size of his heart. He might want to get that looked at by a doctor.
Might be, but honestly, Andy, for all his flaws, is a sweetheart.
And he says that he'd better be invited to Lucy's wedding.
Yes.
Whoever the gentleman may be.
Yes, it looks like there's a general sense of supportedness between Cooper and Lucy, despite the fact I think they've had minimal interactions.
It's not the most developed relationship.
It's not the most developed, but still there is...
Cordial.
It's cordial.
And this whole cordial atmosphere was filling us with tinglies in our hearts. And then all of a sudden, the Mountie shows up.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, there's What is the agent's name that also accompanies the Mountie?
Special Agent Roger Harvey of the FBI.
When Agent Harvey has entered with this Mountie, my first thought was like, okay, is this like the opposite of like Cooper and Truman? Have we just like bumped into the opposing show that's going on at the same time, or?
Yeah, I don't know. He obviously, it's his doppelganger, right? And he informs Cooper that he has been suspended from the FBI, and then a dramatic zoom in on them, like abruptly.
Yep. It really felt like it was like a last episode moment before like both of those guys came in right at the right moment.
Which it lends a drama and suspense to it, but also kind of a comedy because...
Wait a second.
Yes.
Before we go forward on this, he says goodbye to 3 people, and we know that what David Lynch is a big fan of The Wizard of Oz. We know the one person who has heart.
Oh. And one of them doesn't have much of a brain. Well, no, because, so there's Courage is the lion, right?
Yes.
So that'd be Andy, his bravery.
Yep.
How does that fit in?
Heart with the marriage and trying to find one's love, and that means that one's mind, which effectively, I suppose he appreciates Cock's mind.
Huh.
Or maybe it's Lucy making up her mind, and he is commenting on.
I think we're really just set on the Scarecrow. The rest of these are very unclear. That's a possibility.
I'm sorry, it's just a fun bit.
And then does that mean that the special agent and the Mountie are the Great Wizard of Oz, or who are they, the witch, or what are they in this metaphor?
Clearly, the Mountie is the Wicked Witch of the Canada.
Yeah. Okay, and
the good Agent Harvey, which will likely have a house fall on him.
Yeah. Well, I can't reveal that. It is really interesting though, again, because there's like a sense of drama and suspense to it, but then also kind of comedy because it's so over the top, and like you said, it feels like the show could be wrapping up, but it's like, no, wait, there's more. It's very, very obvious, and I could see that feeling a little bit contrived to people. Like, right as he's about to leave, suddenly, you are not in the FBI anymore. Just immediately a conflict at that point of no return. But I kind of appreciate the humor in that. Like, the show's going to keep going on. Here's the reason. I don't mind that.
I mean, it's a pretty good reason, too.
Yeah. So we find out that Roger's here, Roger Harvey, Harvey Dent. He's part of Internal Affairs. And he said that basically when Cooper went across the Canadian border to do his rescue missions with Audrey and everything involving One-Eyed Jacks, that there were some alarming concerns about the legality of it, not only of malfeasance, of crossing the border without really contacting like Canadian authorities, but also issues with possibly some cocaine.
We're going back to cocaine, I guess.
It all returns to cocaine. And the Mountie claims, Mountie King, that he had an operation to catch Jon Renau in activity. They had been planning this for like 6 months, and then Cooper went in and messed everything up by marching it out of nowhere without permission, throwing off the whole investigation and the whole plan to get Jon Renau.
Yep.
And, Cooper only has 24 hours now to set up his best defense to fight off these allegations that he like stole cocaine, murdered like 3 people. And Cooper the whole time's like, is it the position of the FBI that I killed these people? Are you saying I killed these people? And they're just like, I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you didn't, but a little bit of this white powder you might have stole.
Which we'll go back to this case, but I find it very humorous. Like, you have 24 hours, but he still takes the like fishing trip with
it's
still priorities. But still, it's like, Cooper, now you got about 12 hours left after you go to bed.
Yeah.
But yes.
And he has him turn in the gun and the badge, thus disarming Cooper.
FBI agent, by the way, the other FBI agent, Harvey, has him turn his gun, not Briggs.
Did I say Briggs?
No, we were just going off of the Briggs
to clarify who was who, yeah. And then after that, we get Truman coming in. He gives Cooper the Bookhouse Boys signal over his like forehead. Basically, it's a code word, right? And then
it's a very like not really good code word.
It's very conspicuous.
Yes.
Everyone in there's like, okay, we're already suspecting Cooper of doing illegal activity. Now you're doing this in front of us? What is that code for? Bring the cocaine to a secure location? Hide it? And Roger Harvey has him come in, and he takes a totally different tone with him. Basically that Whatever Cooper may be found guilty of doing, do not worry. We like you, Harry. Nothing bad's gonna happen. And Harry Truman, he basically puts up his dukes,
and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, you're talking about legality and like all this legality. What your legality things? Where are these papers?
Where's your paperwork?
Where's your paperwork? You need to go through this and that, but." Hey, it doesn't seem like you have that, so in the meantime, why don't you just have a good cup of coffee on your way out, huh?
Take your cooperation and stuff it.
And they're like, oh, this is too much of an attitude. And he's like, it's not an attitude, it's a promise.
And he defends that Agent Cooper is the finest lawman he's ever known.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, it really feels like that line we got a few episodes ago about him doubting Cooper, all the mumbo jumbo. That kind of just got dissolved. And I mean, understandably, given the way that the last few episodes have went, he isn't sure what he believes anymore, and he's willing to admit that. He's like, he doesn't know what's going on, but Cooper's the only one who seems to.
I'm really hoping they explore this angle too, just out of like Truman's confusion, out of, okay, what is going on in Twin Peaks now?
Mm-hmm. And like you said, next time we see Cooper, he was fulfilling his obligations of roasting marshmallows with Briggs, and at which point Briggs says, "There are powerful forces of evil. It is some men's fate to face great darkness. We each choose how to react. If the choice is fear, then we become vulnerable to darkness. There are ways to resist. You, sir, are blessed with certain gifts. Have you ever heard of the White Lodge?"
Yeah, as soon as like he's bringing up the White Lodge, he's like, well, I've got to go to the bathroom. I can't wait to hear about this White Lodge. It's like a whole bunch of death flakes just sprout from the ground.
Nothing
like,
makes you need to use the bathroom like the White Lodge.
Yep, man, the only thing that could add to this is like, well, that's great because I'm only 2 weeks from retirement.
Yeah, Cooper goes to answer the call of nature. Ominous cuts to the woods keep happening. Kind of similar to the last episode with we had the spectral, weird pink haze over everything and the camera moving through the woods. Something very similar happening here.
Yeah.
We get the owls hooting and visualization of the owls.
Mm-hmm.
And Cooper triumphantly saying amidst all this ominous music and atmosphere, "There's nothing quite like urinating out in the open air," which I really enjoy that amidst the eerie, creepy vibes, we're getting the humor still.
I think that is also very nice since the owls are not what they seem. It was a warning, but he's still glad to announce these things.
Yes. I almost feel like it's like, a warning, like, you better not try to fight me because I'm going to announce where my location is and where I'm peeing. It's almost like marking his territory.
I mean, in the end, Bob just might be a kind of a strange individual that is a bit too perverted, as we've seen from the past few episodes. So maybe he's checking on Cooper. Who knows?
Maybe. And Major Briggs is meanwhile left thoughtfully chewing on his marshmallow.
Num num.
He turns at the sound of the owl, and then the sudden, as you described, the apocalyptic bright lights.
Mm-hmm.
Where he starts yelling, "Cooper! Cooper!" Interesting that in the moment of this, his first instinct is to yell for Cooper.
I mean, he's the only one out there.
Well, I mean, it's not like he's like... It seems like he's more concerned for Cooper's sake than his own. Like, at least that's the sense I get in the moment, is that he's less saying, like, "Cooper, help me." It's more like, "Cooper, where are you?" I guess that's the way I'm reading it.
I'm getting more so it's trying to get his attention. If I am in trouble, I'd probably shout, "Kalil! Kalil!"
Well, I'm not going to be in the forest while you're roasting your marshmallows, so good luck with that. I'm actually going to be the black cloak figure on the hill. That's going to be me, where the light is ominously flashing behind me.
Which, by the way, I enjoy the special guest from Evil Dead running through the woods.
Yeah, and when Cooper returns, Major Briggs is gone.
They turn off the floodlights, and it cuts to credits.
Well, there's more racing camera in the woods, and then the cut to credits, yes.
Yes.
I kind of want to save a little bit of the talk of what we think about this for the end of this episode as kind of an ending point. But in the meantime, I know you had some speculation on Briggs with the last episode and kind of noticed his presence more. What did you think of Major Briggs here with the funeral dinner, his beautiful suit contrasting Jacoby, and then the whole marshmallow fishing? What do you think of Major Briggs right now?
Well, didn't you say before that some people speculate that he is the voice of Mark Frost?
Yes.
Does that mean that Mark Frost's voice will have been taken away at this point, and Mark Frost has to rewrite Twin Peaks in the Secret Twin Peaks?
Take whatever you believe.
Jokes aside, I think that this was a more recognizable Briggs than from last episode.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't quite looking at themselves last time.
Yep. And I'm not too sure. I'm interested in his overall position just because we didn't get much information from that. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering with his disappearance if we're going to be discovering more about Briggs while he is off somewhere.
Do you find Briggs interesting?
I do find Briggs interesting, yes. I think that even him, like, offering this fishing trip to Cooper and having some private time with him and bringing up this White Lodge is also very interesting.
I think he's one of those characters that after the conversation he had with Bobby at the diner way back about that dream of seeing him in this kind of beautiful palazzo and having his son have this sort of fortunate future, there's been an interest probably from my initial viewing onward that was kind of the moment. It's like, kind of curious about this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously I've had an interest in Bobby's character, and we'll be talking about that next. But but I think that I was someone who, and still am someone who finds Briggs interesting. And I think that if we're going to focus on different characters at this new, fresh start, he's an interesting one to talk about.
He is. I hope that we see more of Briggs in the future, because I think that one that would pair well with him would probably be Clint Sternwood.
Yeah.
And of all people, I think that the way that they sort of talk, especially about visions and their overall occupations, are similar enough that
they could be the same person. Have you ever seen them in the room together?
Oh no, I haven't.
Could be the exact same person.
Could be the exact same person, or they're just different characters with different occupations.
Yeah. Could be one of those two.
Could be.
Could be either one of those two. Who knows to say?
Mm-hmm. All we have to do is put a Yukon sucker puncher in front of Briggs, and if he identifies it, then we know.
I think someone that we might want to sucker punch right now is Bobby Briggs. Bobby.
Bobby.
Not really taking the hints about his home life.
He's not taking hints at all. He's in Bobby mode.
He's literally looking at himself in the mirror, admiring his appearance in the mirror on Leo's chest.
Wearing Leo's suit, by the way.
I can't even imagine Leo in that suit, first of all. Leo in a suit is a weird image to picture.
I mean, Leo is a professional.
Yeah. Now you're being the the defender of Leo Johnson.
No, I like defensor. I'm the defensor of Leo Johnson.
You kept making fun of me for doing that, and now look what you are doing.
I'm saying he's a professional. I did not say he's a good man.
Okay, Bobby's a professional too then.
I'm not saying he's a good man
I'm winning now. And, Bobby says that he needs to look good because Ben Horn is a man who notices these things. Which, I mean, when you're right, you're Bobby. I agree. Shelley, meanwhile, is like, no, I just need to get out of this house. And Bobby...
She looks exhausted.
Bobby promises that when he gets this thing to work out with Ben, which is obviously going to work, he'll take care of her in ways that she's never even dreamed of. And he does his usual trick where he basically starts flirting with her, making advances. And in the past, that's worked. That's convinced her. That's been ooh, la la.
Let's just face it. This could have been an easy enough compromise. She said, I don't know, but she did suggest a sitter or something.
Yes.
The simple point is okay, well, how about we celebrate over dinner? I'm pretty confident about my position. But no, he just kind of puts it off because he's got one focused goal. In his mind.
And he is clearly believing that it's going to work out, and she is disillusioned. The things that normally would have worked on her are not working at all. She's just done with it. And as a Bobby fan, I guess this is what I'll say, is that I liked the character of Bobby much more before all this started, really, with season 2.
Yeah.
I liked Bobby in season 1 more overall.
Yeah.
But I don't dislike Bobby's character at this point. What I guess is my opinion is that Bobby's character is less interesting to me, and I don't really like what he's doing. I think it's kind of crappy what he's doing to Shelley.
Yeah.
But I think it fits him. I don't think it's out of character. I don't think it's bad writing. I just don't personally find it as engaging to watch. But it's I could see Bobby doing this.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that Shelley is done with it per se. She is still frustrated, but the first comment she makes on the phone is I love you too, because it seems like Bobby is just quick to apologize and say, no, but I love you.
It's strained though. It's definitely, the honeymoon phase is over.
Yes.
And again, I don't find Bobby as interesting with these situations, but I do think it fits his character. It fits where his character's going inside of his arc. And I go back to that dream that we had with Major Briggs, of him having this successful future. I think Bobby's chasing that successful future. He just doesn't really think of it the same way his father would.
I think that he is very nearsighted. He is focusing on whatever goal is closest to him, and he does, again, parasitically suck from it. There was a point later on in which he's getting ready for the interview. He's yelling at the assistant who's saying, like, I sent the tape. He should have gotten it yesterday. I need this now. And, you know, Benjamin Horn's a little distracted at the moment inside of his office, a little bit flustered. Audrey does, like, leave the door open for him, and when he tries to talk to Ben, you can sense a big bit of nervousness, and just Ben doesn't want to hear it. He's like, get my fly swatter. He gets knocked out of there, and like Audrey is quick to grab him from the goons. I think that if Ben's only going to get one line in this episode, I really do like his one line. It was a really good line. Whatever he was a fly swatter, there's a bug in my office. Yes, well, like he is just looks crazed, fidgety. If anyone can tell me what the hell Ben was holding, please contact us at snakeeyedreams@gmail.com or on the Twitter at snakeeyedreams1. As Kalil likes to say, the numeral 1, not us spelling out O-N-E, because why would that make sense? Exactly. So thank you for telling him how it be. Thank you. Also, I just want to make a quick comment that when Audrey's carrying this basket around of scarves and shirts, she hands it over to Bobby and she says, count to 10. And in the back of my brain, having seen the show multiple times, knowing that it is not this, I just thought it'd be really funny if what was a bomb. What if she's like, count to 10, Bobby? He's like, okay, whatever. We found Robert's son. 3, it was Audrey. 2, 1, and then like you cut to the outside of the Great Northern, and the whole like west wing of the hotel is just blown up. There's like pieces drifting down the waterfall. Now, tell me, do you think that the gift shop sells like, it looks like a sports style like scarves in there and some shirts in this basket? So what do you think? There were tags on like some of the articles. I don't know what it is. I just know it's not a bomb. I can confirm that. We can confirm. You heard it here, guys. At Snake Eye Dreams, we confirmed that there was not a bomb in the basket. The only bomb here is the bombshell. Am I right, Audrey fans? Oh, yes. And there's a whistle noise. I can't whistle. You can't whistle. Can you do like a fox whistle? Like nope. Oh, you can't whistle either? I can't whistle well. I can't whistle. You heard it here first, everyone. Snake Eye Dreams cannot whistle. However, the whistle was definitely blown as soon as Bobby is walking down like the hallway with Audrey, and he's like, I gotta thank you. It's like, the ice cream was suggested. He's like, oh yeah, well, cup or cone? Cone. I like to lick. And then that could mean anything. That could mean anything. And now that he apparently calls in late to the Johnson household, So the question I have, I guess, for you, Professor, is this is presumably the same day, like right after, I think she's wearing the same outfit, after Audrey had just basically talked to Cooper and found out for sure that that's not going to happen between them. As far as it goes, Audrey knows that things going on with Cooper will likely not happen, but when she's grown, she's made a promise to head towards them. I don't think that Audrey is looking for anything lasting, but a little bit of fun. I mean, and that's kind of what I'm saying is I don't think there's no way that Audrey doesn't know what she's doing when she's doing these obvious innuendos that are so surface level, even Bobby can pick up the hint. Yeah, I say, hey, Audrey, as long as you're being safe, go for it. But Bobby I don't is not going to be a safe person. She should know that Bobby's, well, he's not married. His relationship status is complicated right now. It is very complicated. He's dating? But I think that the only person who has witnessed like this weird point was Cooper and Truman, and I don't think that they would bring it up to Audrey. She might not know that on his taxes he can file for having a dependent. Named Leo Johnson, who is older than him. Yeah. And again, she even pretends to be more okay, this is how I rated it. When she's like, are you okay? I can't imagine what all this is about, Bobby. I really feel like she's putting on an act to like inflate his ego a little bit, like giving him the attention, making it seem like she really cares. And I could be wrong. Maybe she genuinely is interested in what he's doing. But I don't know. I don't know at this point with Audrey. We know that she's had a falling out with her father. The fact that she's even in the Great Northern at all is kind of surprising to me, considering that she was glad to see him arrested. Hey, man, as far as it goes, I mean, it could be, have passed. It could be the sense of Audrey that we've seen to get information. What for? Maybe it's just like to have something in her back pocket. We know that how Ben usually deals with matters. Maybe she has her own ways of dealing with matters. Maybe Audrey just wants to have some fun. I mean, I'm not going to go against that. But again, it is kind of weird, though, that she's still at the Great Northern, in speaking terms with her father, considering the situations. Yeah.
It feels like a lot must have happened in the 3 days we didn't see.
A lot of things may have happened inside of the 3 days, but yeah. Again, I'm fine with whatever Audrey is doing until it becomes suspicious.
Okay. I mean, what's not suspicious is Shelley at home, like you said, hasn't heard from Bobby. She answers the phone as Johnson's nursing home.
Now, the background of other things happening with the people she might be involved with, that's the part where I'm concerned with.
Yeah, because if we're talking about the same thing here, as Shelley's talking on the phone, she sees Leo Johnson moving.
Yep.
Where she's like, he moved.
I was more so talking the fact that Bobby and Audrey might have, because it's late, but yeah, that's also concerning too.
They might have got ice cream.
They might have gotten ice cream.
I don't know what you're insinuating. It could be anything.
They might have licked ice
Professor.
cream. Mm-hmm.
The most sacred of all things that only people in a committed relationship do. Lick
Go
ice
to
cream.
the double R. Oh, yes, lick ice cream.
You know who hasn't licked ice cream in a long time?
Leo Johnson.
Catherine Martell.
Oh, we're not going to talk about the murderous intent of Leo Johnson, in which he's slowly moving as reacting, and like Shelley is freaking out, and there's a hard cut as soon as she's realizing that Leo might have more autonomy.
I mean, it sounds like you kind of just said it all. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
I'm going to ask, what the heck are we going to expect? I know you can't answer, but
I could pretend to answer.
You can pretend to answer. I mean, Leo Johnson is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, if I assume I don't know anything about the show and I'm watching it blind right now, I would assume that stuff's going to keep happening because we've had numerous hints that like Leo might be semi-aware of what's going on and he starts to like have little haunting moments of horror movie magic.
Yes.
So yeah, I would assume that he's going to just suddenly attack like one of these days. Like that's the feeling I would get.
I feel like there's a rage bubbling in Leo, and whoever is in the way, I fear for them.
He is going to bring them a Yu-Gi-Oh battle that they have never dealt with before.
He's going to bring it in his deck box, which just so happens to be stored in a sock, which he'll swing around.
Yep.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay, fun little side tangent, because I need a side tangent. This has been a week for me. So, of the characters in Twin Peaks, who do you think would be the one to have a Yu-Gi-Oh deck?
Agent Cooper has a whole... Well, he's not a resident of Twin Peaks, I suppose, but he definitely has a lot of interests. Out of the people within Twin Peaks...
Who has, like, a fierce, like, Yu-Gi-Oh deck and could play the Duel Monsters card game at a moment's notice, or Magic the Gathering, or whatever, like, card battle game you think that they would play.
You know, maybe there's some special deals done by... What's his name? Maybe Jerry. Jerry Horn is very well traveled. He goes all about. He's got that very big energy to him.
Okay.
I can see him, like, being ready to get down to duel.
I like the idea of James in, like, his leather jacket. He's, like, riding his motorcycle, and he just, like, pulls over, like, some, like, board game, what do you kind of call those stores? Like, supply store that's like cards and board games or whatever. And just like while he's like trying to get away from his fears, he just walks in there, heard you play cards here. And then he just suddenly like whips out his deck that was in his pocket of his leather jacket the whole time. And he just lays down a Yu-Gi-Oh duel with random people. And that's like his victory arc. It's his way he finds himself after losing Laura and Maddie. He finds his heart in the cards.
I mean, if that's your canon for where he's disappeared.
Yeah,
during this time,
I like to believe.
By all means.
Ooh, Jacoby. He could have like a Hawaiian themed deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know my new canon is that Jacoby is our duelist.
Just for the sheer idea of, I don't know how many cards are based off of Hawaii, though, Kalil.
You know, he makes his own. I don't know. That could be a hobby.
It could be a hobby.
You know who also probably doesn't play card games?
You know who might not have had a hobby in a while?
Catherine.
Yay,
Martell. I did it!
There you go.
I did it.
You did it.
So Truman is eating donuts from a bag out of his hat.
Yeah. Actually, I'm. Have you ever seen anyone do that? I've never really seen.
I never seen a hat being used that way.
It's generally just a fun thing to look at. Like the first time viewing, I didn't even notice whatsoever. I was just more so focused on like Catherine, who I guess covered herself in dirt and is carrying around a walking stick. I was like, okay, that's an interesting visual. But then having a second viewing with you, on basically like day after day.
Yeah.
We do 2 viewings. I watch one and then we'll watch one with Kalil. But yeah, just seeing like a stuffed like bag of food that he's munching on out of his hat. I mean, it's a good container to bring around, but you almost think to yourself, maybe you should just hold on to the bag. No, this is good. And if there's, like, sometimes the grease could leak on your hand, so, hey, if it's gonna end up being in your hat, it's just gonna gel up your hair. It's gonna make it all shiny.
You know, I say to you, Truman, hats off to you.
Hats off to you.
And we know that from the get-go that Catherine isn't telling the full story to Truman because she says that my husband and I will be duly reunited. So, according to her official version, she has not seen her husband yet. Mm-hmm. She went to Truman first.
Okay.
So we know going in that this is not going to be the full truth. Now, what I'm kind of curious about, Professor, is as we go through this, if you think that everything she's saying is true, not true, sincere, lying, Catherine has had a duplicitous nature in the past, and she's even had been duplicitous recently being Mr. Tajimura. So we know she's not always forthright in what she really thinks and feels. At the same time, maybe you think she is meaning what she's saying.
I mean, she had to be somewhere at the time, and maybe it was at this location. Being told about a White Lodge later on, maybe that is the secret White Lodge.
Because she starts the conversation of, do you believe in guardian angels? And she basically believes that a guardian angel saved her life by, like, leading her to, like, this sort of weird vision of her past childhood memories, and then suddenly she found herself on the path toward her old summer cabin in the woods.
I think that there's the sense of whimsy that comes out that I don't believe in the guardian angel aspect as much.
You don't believe
there might be a sense that maybe there is a light belief, but I'm going to quote Catherine on this. We've been lying our whole entire adult lives. Why start now as far as telling the truth? So when it comes down to this, I think that the best lies are wrapped in a little bit of truth. Mm-hmm. I think that she may have been hiding out in that lodge. I think that she may have been planning things out. I believe that she may have been eating tuna nonstop. But we have seen her be Tojimura and being around over here. So she has been to Twin Peaks often enough. So yes, I think that there's a half truth here.
And to confirm with you, and I think this is the case, she said that the cabin is over by Pearl Lakes. Pearl Lakes is the same area where Leland had that cabin, that summer cabin, right?
Yes, actually, the grandfather's summer house is on Pearl Lakes, which is also where Leland has said that crazy Bob maybe. So maybe that is around where the White Lodge is. Maybe she has gone to the White Lodge.
And that would also contextualize the guardian angel thing. Did the angel look like an owl at all? I mean, they both have wings. I mean, I think there's two ways you can look at it. I mean, it could be the most obvious, simple explanation that Pearl Lakes is a popular destination nearby for someone to go, like, camp or have, like, a cabin. Like, it's just a nearby, like, popular area right next to Twin Peaks, let's say. Okay. Or it could be something more to it, that there is this return to a destination, that the only context we've had for Pearl Lakes prior has been very, very ominous.
All right, Kalil, I handed you a book I'm not allowed to look at,
yes.
But I did lightly notice that there was a map on the back. So
yes.
For me to avoid spoilers, I want you to see if you cannot find the Pearl Lakes on that.
So judging by the Welcome to Twin Peaks access guide to the town, the back of this book, it is about 6 miles, I would say, from the eastern edge of Twin Peaks.
So if Catherine's statement is true, she had ended up walking that 6 miles on foot outside of the burning building, if we are to assume that the place that got burned down was at the edge of town.
And for Twin Peaks fans who are pretty good with not geometry, that's shapes.
Tell us more about
of
shapes.
Things. Well, I mean, geometry is also a thing in Twin Peaks, but geography, I would say that Pearl Lakes is pretty evenly between Blue Pine Mountain and Glastonbury Grove.
Yeah, so it's not too far to drive from, so it's very close in the general area of Twin Peaks where one would go to their summer home as far as Leland goes. But still quite the hike for good old, what's her name? Catherine.
It's notably not the closest body of water to Twin Peaks. That would belong to Black Lake, which is where the Packard house is, and the Packard sawmill. So, basically the mountains of Blue Pine Mountain, that would basically divide the Packard area from the Pearl Lakes area.
Yes.
So she kind of went past that mountain area, I would say, going there.
And there's also elevation to talk about. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it sounds like she had a very fun time through the woods, which might have inspired through craziness to take up this Tojimura stance. But it worked, So that's great. Yeah, there's, I'm going to be keeping an eye out on some of that just in general, because, again, being stuck in the woods and noting a lodge out there is a very tempting thought.
Like the 1960s group, The Temptations?
Yes.
You feel pretty similar about that?
Sure, I don't know music.
Oh.
I enjoy instrumentals. Angelo Badalamenti is going to aid me in my writing, but I do not personally know a lot of famous artists.
Well, looking at The Temptations' top songs right now, some of them include My Girl, When a Man Loves a Woman, Just My Imagination, Silent Night, I'm Losing You, You're My Everything.
What is this proving?
Stop in the Name of Love.
What are you doing?
And the Christ? What does this say? It's just the Christ. Okay.
Okay.
No, it's this Christmas. What is this?
Kalil?
This Christmas. So which of those songs would you say most describes your feelings on the lodges and Pearl Lakes?
This Christmas.
What does that mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why we're here.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it seems that going out and about into this bit of nature, there is concern for good old Catherine. How far has Josie walked? Because she looks pretty scuffed up.
The distance between China and Twin Peaks, or
more than 6 miles, less than 6 miles.
I mean, the map doesn't show it, so I really don't have context.
This is incomplete.
I mean, I would assume that the map that is an access guide to Twin Peaks would be for the whole entire Twin Peaks world.
Yes,
which would need to include Japan and China.
Yep.
At this point.
I am disappointed.
I'm very disappointed. But, I mean, Truman seemed happy to have her back. He heard some things going bump in the night, and he was wearing his, sporting red pajamas, and he goes to the door, and who should fall into his arms?
Gun.
With his gun. Who should fall into his gun arms than Josie herself?
Yep, and as soon as she falls into his gun arms, he drops his gun. Which is horrible gun safety, by the way.
Very bad. Don't do that,
Do not drop your gun while grabbing and making out with your lover.
So we got Catherine back. We got Josie back. Everything's being returned to starting positions.
Is it?
I don't know.
There's a certain complication, and it was a quote-unquote cousin that we met before that may or may not be involved with Truman. I mean, we have seen undercover individuals before with, the Mountie. So seeing someone who has followed Cooper at one point and maybe coming back for Josie, mild bit of concern, just a mild bit, especially since Cooper might be losing a few resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know enough about this man for the time being, and I think that makes it more horrifying in Josie's position. I mean, if you had to guess where Josie ran off to, top 10 places, probably one of them's here.
Shopping. It was just shopping.
It was just shopping.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. I'm sure that the guy that was waiting to talk to Josie, Mr. Eckert, I'm sure Mr. Eckert understands. He's just waiting. Just waiting. Everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is fine.
Yes.
Waiting.
Who else is waiting for their resolution is
it's
Lucy.
Still Truman as well as Josie. So yeah, as far as Josie goes, whatever targets are on her back, and by extension is going to be on Truman's back, that is to be concerning. But right now, they're being held into each other's arms, and now comes to one of the biggest questions in Twin Peaks. Whose arms will Lucy be engaged in? Will it be in Dick Tremaine's, or will it be in Andy's?
In the arms of Dick Tremaine.
No,
I think we should take... I think from now on we should take sides. And Lucy can be the listener.
Okay.
And you can be on Team Andy, and I'll be on Team Dick Tremaine.
Listeners, you heard it first from Kalil. Though he has seen the show, he has personally given me the winning side. So I thank you all very much for
Dick
watching
Tremaine
me march down Victory Road, because by the gods, Dick.
Yes.
Why?
See, Dick Tremaine, he is aware that he is not a perfect person.
Oh.
He is someone who looks inward into his soul, and he pronounces to Lucy, I, Richard Tremaine, am a terrible crashing bore.
Mm-hmm.
he acknowledges that he is having a hole in his life. And he desperately requires someone more important than himself, which is hard for me to imagine. Dick Tremaine seems to be the most important person in any room.
No, I can pretty easily see Dick having a hole.
So he feels this hole in himself, and he's like, I need to have a child. There's a child-shaped hole in my heart. I should see a doctor. And he wants to be a parent. More specifically, a father. He has enlisted himself in the Happy Helping Hand program. Part-time big brother to some adorable homeless waif.
Which, by the way, waif is already, it's implied homeless with waif.
He wants to be very clear. See, Dick Tremaine values clarity and communication. And with all the confusion that's happening and all the misunderstandings, it's very important that they understand each other in these troubling times.
I'd say that there's a lot of hairy situations around Dick personally.
No, Harry Truman wasn't in the room during this.
He wasn't, but it can still be a hairy situation.
I think Dick Tremaine, he's persisting. He could very easily be like, you know what?
Is he?
Yes, he could very easily be like, I don't want the child. I'm going to leave this up to Lucy and Andy.
No,
he cares about Lucy and the child enough to stick around.
No,
he's not going to be no deadbeat dad.
Dick Tremaine is someone who puts forward an image, and despite his overall funds, he gives himself off as a lavish man, a very well-educated man. He is trying his best to present a Horn personality, but with none of the Horn backing. And with him coming forward saying that he wants this, I'm incredibly suspicious. And I think that is proper to be suspicious, especially since while he is just speaking about how great he is and how he's doing this to improve himself, Lucy is just, oh God, I'm falling. And he's doing nothing. He's just looking down, and he's like, oh.
I don't think she was in danger of falling.
Yeah,
she was fine.
Yeah.
What was Andy doing during this time?
Andy was trying to listen in, so he wasn't directly looking.
Sounds like a cowardly maneuver to me.
He's also trying to avoid Hawk and his overall rage, just being like, get in there. While he's but eventually Andy does come forward and he says, look, I grew up in a big family, and whenever my mother was pregnant, it is best not to cause a lot of trouble. Let's be civil about this. Let's keep talking and keep the this playing field that's coming up even, and until we find out all the answers. He is being very civil, and he feels that is something that would be good for Lucy. In fact, while he is speaking about this, you see Lucy start to lean in closer for a kiss towards Andy. Though
and
he
this
is still
right after.
He's still it goes over his head, but still, regardless, it seems that there is an attraction from Lucy after these statements.
But there was just as much of an attraction prior to that when the coward was hiding behind the corner of the wall. We saw Dick Tremaine affectionately leaning his face into her belly and her having a reaction. I don't know what I'd call it.
It was a reaction. It was hard to read.
She was happy about it.
I think that I can read affection better when someone is going closer to one's lips than I am when okay, you're on my stomach. Mm-hmm. Yep, this is happening.
And poor Andy is trapped behind these very rigid ideas of gender conformity. He thinks that, this child, he's got to throw the baseball, he's got to build the dollhouse. You don't know what your kid's going to be into. And then he has the audacity.
He does say he or she. It could have been a girl who likes to play baseball or a boy who likes to dollhouse. He's had a large family. I don't think that he's going to ever hold a child to certain standards.
There's still this dichotomy that you can't enjoy dollhouses and baseball. It's this or this. He's still rigid in his gender ideas. And worse yet, he tells Hawk that Andy says that Lucy needs someone with morals and manly behavior. You do not know what Lucy needs. Dick Tremaine in Horn's department store menswear will provide everything she needs.
He's going in with open hand, and it looks like Lucy, at the very least, has an attraction towards it. So, who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not going to speak on the behalf of Lucy. However, I love Andy's reaction. It's do you think I was too harsh? It's what? Andy!
I'm going to echo the words of Hawk. Andy, are you crazy? Which he hammed up that performance too. Hawk had one line in this movie and he was going to put us all into it.
No, I enjoy Hawk each time I get to enjoy him on screen. He is fantastic.
Okay, will you at least afford me in this
I don't know,
rhetorical fight we're having.
I don't know. Tremaine isn't exactly someone who can afford much, so go on.
At least he's better than Vivian. Will you concede that? In the battle of morals, in the arena of character...
These are apples to oranges, man.
Okay, which one is riper?
As far as when it comes to our dear Jennings, we are having this conflict that Norma is outright upset. Like, she got a horrible review from NT Wentz, and that could reflect very poorly on her business. This is all that she's got. And meanwhile, her mother is just trying to snap her out of it, and is like, okay, you know what? To put this aside, as far as it goes to MT Wentz, I was the one who wrote that paper. And, like, Norma is, like, you can see her physically. She's hurt. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, but this is a nice place and all. It's just the food's not any good. And at that point, like, Norma just states that, you know what? I just want you out of my life. I do not want you hurting me anymore. This is too much. Yeah,
she says that Norma says she wouldn't treat a dog like this, let alone her own daughter.
Yes.
Which I think it's really funny, the idea of, like, writing a dog a negative review about their restaurant.
Man.
I would never do that to a dog.
Man, really putting that dog in its place. In his or her place. But as far as the Double R goes, being Toad's favorite restaurant, this is still sad that she got this very critical review. And though we see her being very critical, she keeps suggesting things and noting flaws in the restaurant. Some of them make less sense than others. Again, I'm kind of like thinking about that mushroom one from beforehand. Mm. And what was it? White veal?
White veal sausage. Mm-hmm.
And I understand her want to be true to her values, not trying to, like, having Norma accomplish something that is on the standards that she has put on every other restaurant. But at the same time, are there just 0 restaurants in Twin Peaks to just give her daughter a little bit of mercy?
Here's my take. Here's my hot take. And I'm not going to do any irony. I'm not going to do any jokes with this. I'm someone who would think it would be bad for MT Wentz to basically write off the Double R with a positive review just because that's her daughter. That's almost like nepotism.
But that's...
No, let me finish.
Okay.
I have somewhere I'm going with this.
Okay.
I think that it is wrong that Norma would expect, just because she's the daughter, to get a good review. That would be unprofessional of MT Wentz. I think MT Wentz should not have given a review to the place at all. I think that she should have saw it as she should not be reviewing a business where her family has a personal stake in it. Like, as a food critic, as a journalist, she's not a journalist, as a food critic, I don't think that that's really ethical to write about your family. I think that if she would have drew that line and just not commented on it, that could have preserved both their professionalism and her family.
I think that when she is handling the situation overall, there is definitely much more of her critic side coming out. A lot of criticism indefinitely. But as far as the guidance goes, it's being done with a rather heated blade, if you will, kind of taking jabs at certain things. I think that there is a point in which maybe she could work alongside her daughter and try to grow more of a connection.
I would disagree. I would say it is not heated, it is cold.
It is cold?
It is sterile. I think that, at least in my viewing of Vivian, I don't think she harbors any anger, resentment, any negative feelings toward Norma at all. I think she feels barely anything, and it's this sense of, I mean, I want to like your place, but your food sucks. And I think she views it in, like, these objective terms of, like, it's just not good. If it was good, I'd say it's good, but it's not good, so it's not good. I think she believes all the recommendations she's giving, and I think she wants the food to be better because she thinks restaurants should have good food, not because she wants her daughter to be any better or any worse. And I think that part of the problem, just to criticize the food critic, she doesn't seem to... She holds every restaurant, it sounds, to the same standards, because clearly if you go to the Double R, why would you expect white veal sausage? Like, that doesn't seem to be the vibe they're going for and the kind of food they're going for.
Yeah, as far as that goes, I'm
Even
not
Guy
saying...
Fieri would understand that.
I'm not saying that she's not being cold. I'm not saying that she's a cold person, but this is still a heated conflict. So I think
it's heated from Norma.
I think that... I'd say that the general conflict can be heated and it can come from cold people. I think that using your metaphors in certain ways can always have...
Yeah, I just think in their perceptions, the way that Vivian refers to this is that it's melodrama. She thinks that Norma's kind of overreacting about it because she separates her personal life and her personal life with her family and her professional life so much that she's like, yeah, you got a bad review, and that's whatever. It shouldn't affect us. So I don't think she views it as heated, but she recognizes that it's heated from Norma's perspective.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to connect the fact that her actions had a direct consequence on her daughter.
Yeah.
And again, I think the best thing for her to do, MT Wentz should just not have reviewed the Double R.
Yeah,
she should have had taken a professional, like, I'm not going to review this specific place. Because unless all of her family owns restaurants all over the world, she has other places she can review.
I still say on my end, it seems that she does want a relationship with her daughter in some form. She still wants to kind of like get past these trauma. And she has experience as a critic enough that perhaps she could like further aid in some matter, like find a way to get closer. And she has in some ways, but far too forcefully. So unfortunately, it looks like there's going to be at least a little time of conflict between Vivian as well as Norma, as long as she stays in the town.
Well, at least Vivian's got a loyal husband. About as loyal as Norma's husband. They're both reformed gentlemen looking to make the better of their community and to help their wives succeed in all endeavors.
At the one-eyed Jacks.
Did they?
I have a strong feeling that they weren't just sitting inside of a bedroom and vacuuming away.
I mean, that was Emery Battis's case.
That was Emery Battis's case. But he might like to keep things professional. It seems like he was heavy in working in the place. Ernie's being
Hopefully
introduced.
They end up dominoes in the house if Hank did. Anyway,
man, like just imagine Hank's scenario back there.
I don't want to.
It sounded like, especially from their dialogue, there was heavy implications that they may have even been in the same room during what was happening.
See, I did not pick that up, and maybe my mind is trying to be purer than yours at this moment.
You know, purity is the number one philosophy over at One-Eyed Jacks.
Well, because I know the girls are entertaining them, but that could be anything from, like, they're dancing for them, they could be performing for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were actually engaged in sex.
Okay.
And that's where I'm not so sure. Like, what was the dialogue?
One quote that really got to me that I think that if they didn't put their penises somewhere, the quote is, "We bagged our limit, Ernie, and we didn't even fire a shot." So it's either they were masturbating or saw something sexy, or what I think may be very well implied, they had fun. The
bag does not mean the shag. Okay?
The bag does not mean the shag.
I don't know. They got their
It's the line that we didn't even fire a shot.
That could be that they, because, okay, so the obvious pure way to interpret that is that they were going on a hunting trip, so they got their reward without actually firing a gun, in the sense that they got rewarded for what they have done. Reward does not necessarily have only one interpretation. For all we know, the girls danced.
They might have danced.
Does this matter in the grand scheme? I don't know. I mean, I guess the only way it really would matter is if you think that would make or break your opinion of Ernie Niles as a human being. Because Hank definitely would cheat on with Norma, right? I don't think that's really up for question.
From what we see, Ernie is pretty susceptible either to the world that he wasn't being in the part of before, and it's just dragging him back in, or it might even just be like Hank's influence being an old friend. I know that they're having a fun camaraderie, throwing each other around the room.
Ernie Niles always strikes me as the Ariel from Little Mermaid kind of figure. It's all about part of your world and trying to find a place where he belongs.
Going back to my world.
And like the mermaids are the criminals, and the not mermaids, like Prince Eric, are the not criminals.
Speaking of the mermaids that are not criminals, we have Jon Renau, who seems to be running the shots over at One-Eyed Jacks.
And may I say, excellent shots with him kind of in the center of the frame, smoking, very stoic, like posture, and just kind of like the way the shots look with the red curtains behind him from One-Eyed Jacks.
Yep.
He has a sense of power to him that I think is a combination of the actor, the directing, some great moments.
Overall, Jon Renau is a definite highlight as an antagonist. And the fact that we now have 4 new antagonists, which we'll get to, is going to be a very nice weigh-in against some of our dear allies.
I also wanted to highlight very quickly before we move on that before Jon Renau comes in, the overall demeanor between Hank and Ernie Niles is great. Yep. I love the way that it begins with kind of them playfully, and after the girls leave, they're kind of playfully joking around as the dudes being dudes. but then he's like got Ernie in a headlock, and it keeps shifting back and forth between, haha, hey man, how we doing, to give me the money. And it was just kind of this really nice blurring lines, so that when Jon Renau finally comes in, Hank turns around, grin on his face, having a good time. It's very in line with Hank's character that playing around and roughhousing with the boys is very, very similar to holding them up by the collar and like threatening them. It can transition back and forth between fun and threat very quickly.
I can't wait to see what Ernie does with blood in the future. But we do get to see that Ernie is being dragged in as the professor, in which he is able to get them a lot of money very quickly.
Professor, are you also able to immediately give me $125,000 as you are also a professor?
I mean, I'm involved with all the big stuff,
Yeah, you're wired.
Yep, I am. I'm wired in, man.
Hardwired.
Hardwired in.
You sound like my man.
I am your man.
Perfect.
Hello.
All right, $125,000. Was that the money being laundered right now on the air?
No, that is Discord, in which somehow the notifications still come up on that.
Oh, that's just Discord. Okay.
But speaking of Discord, there is a lot of problems going on here. Despite Ernie saying like, "No, I'm out of it. I want to stay out." As soon as like they're introduced to Jon, it seems like, "Yep, I'm your man. We're good. I got your back. I've got you."
And Jon Renau is not buying this for half a second.
No, he says, you said the magic words.
Yeah,
and
he's just
like,
going with it. It's so funny.
And here, we got this stuff right here. And hey, how about we gamble? Oh, no, I don't gamble. Oh, we all gamble around here. Oh, okay, I guess.
You must enjoy life.
You must enjoy life.
Jon Renau commands.
My God, like, Ernie, like, there is, like, no space of time in between, like, him being like, to, yeah!
I really enjoy this interaction overall between Hank, Jon Renau, and Ernie Niles here. And our mystery other person. Who
the Mountie.
You recognized. Perfect.
Yes.
Because I think when I first watched the show, I didn't recognize that, and I don't know how I didn't recognize it. I just had a mind gap in my brain.
Yeah, and at first you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're still trying to be part of the job. This might be just him still being undercover. But as soon as, like, Jon Renau is bringing up Cooper to him. Yep. It seems that right now, Jon is trying to get Cooper to effectively lose everything, become a powerless man before he can deliver the final strike.
Plant the cocaine in the car, and Jon Renau says, I want him crucified.
Yep, it's an easy place to put it, too. I mean, we did see that from Bobby stuffing cocaine inside of James's motorcycle, so yeah.
So yeah, I would say again, this is probably one of my favorite scenes as far as the mood. Overall, just this episode, I thought had a really solid grasp of its atmosphere, kind of going between the different moods we had, conveying a lot of information to us, but not in a way that felt overwhelming. Yeah. And considering how weirdly rushed and kind of poorly explained the last episode felt at times to us, the fact that this, which has, I would argue, more new ideas in it, it felt much more natural.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
And also less Donna. Which is good too.
There's way less James. I'm okay with Donna.
Significantly less James.
I'm good with Donna, but James is the one that I tend to have problems with.
Man.
But
I think that's just you. Just
me. Ooh.
It was the universal you. I think other people have the same feeling, but can't convey all of that. Mm-hmm. You don't think James is cool?
I don't know how to feel about James. I'm sure we're gonna see him pouting on his motorcycle somewhere.
James has always been cool. You're not cool, Professor.
I'm sorry, but as far as James goes, he had maybe it's fine to blame himself in the grieving process.
Yeah, he probably should blame himself a little bit. Donna should too.
Not like that. Like it can be a normal reaction. I haven't seen anything from James I like. He is either incredibly like all in, lovey-dovey, in relationships very fast. He is upset and breaking stuff, or he is being very upset.
I would say my two favorite moments with James, I really enjoy the moment where the funeral of Laura Palmer, way back in episode 3, and he's like, not going to go to the Laura Palmer.
I'm not going to the funeral.
And then he drives up to his motorcycle to his home with Ed there. He says like 2 sentences, and then immediately turns back outside, drives away, and then shows up at the funeral anyway.
I'm surprised he did not crash from Whiplash.
And in a very dark way, I enjoyed the Just You song. Like that moment happening.
I can tell you keep referencing it.
I mean, do you not like that moment?
Yeah,
It's very bizarre.
I like it for the framing of it, the sound of it, and I like the general idea of what you can use with that, but I don't like if it was... I hope it was someone else's idea than James's, because by gods, it's just throwing all sorts of flags in the air between Maddie and Donna, and did not help their relationship. I wonder if they kept the point in which, like, Donna runs away inside that tape.
I'm trying to imagine, like, the last time we know that tape was being given to Leland to give to Maddie, and he said that wouldn't be a problem. I wonder what happened to that tape. I wonder if, like, Sarah Palmer, she's going to, like, find this tape randomly sitting on the counter, wondering what this is and listen to it. And that's going to be the thing that finally makes Sarah Palmer break. Like, this is finally the thing that all the stresses, all the emotions going through her, hearing James's weird singing voice, that's going to be the thing that finally just breaks her mind.
He has a fine singing voice. I don't think it's weird. I think it's different, if anything.
I think the context of hearing Donna and Maddie singing with this, and she's just like, oh, James and Donna, and then Sarah Palmer just goes crazy.
Fantastic. Well.
So, we've asked in the past... now I want to keep rhyming. We asked in the past if it would be a blast to know who killed Laura Palmer.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. And then last episode, I almost said yesterday. That wasn't. I mean, maybe you listened to it yesterday, dear listener, but we didn't make it yesterday.
Or today, or week.
Maybe you listened to it. Maybe you haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, last time we asked who is the son of Robert. You have confidently. What's the word I'm looking for?
I wouldn't say confidently.
You have covertly, that's the word I'm looking for.
There we go.
You have covertly asked me if we could try a different question for today. So right now, we're just trying out different questions. There's no big overarching mystery the way that Laura Palmer was for 15 episodes.
Seeing what sticks.
So the question I have for you today, Professor, what is the White Lodge?
If it's a literal lodge, probably someplace on Pearl Lakes, because we have had connections with the owls with Bob. Presumed to be an owl, especially with that one weird shot we got a few episodes ago, as well as with Leland, especially with Catherine now wandering around that point. That's interesting. And the fact that there is a large white light that comes from the distance that could lead to an idea of a White Lodge. Maybe the White Lodge is something that follows people. An SCP, if you will, the White Lodge.
Maybe the White Lodge is the friends we've made along the way.
Maybe it is the friends we made along the way. If so, Briggs is in a lot of trouble because there's not a lot of healthy relationships in Twin Peaks. So,
what's the healthiest relationships in Twin Peaks?
I think that the one that is the healthiest is probably between Cooper and Truman.
Yeah.
It definitely did latch on fast, but at the very least, they've gotten enough of a bond to work off each other, and it seems that Truman didn't hold on to the mumbo-jumbo thing for too long.
Let's hope that Dougie's relationship with this teenager for his fifth marriage, that is an enduring relationship that is just as virtuous and inspirational.
I can't wait until I hear their soundtrack of Just You.